Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally here. Indiana and Illinois. It's a top 20 matchup in Bloomington, and it's going to be awesome.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in. It is a Locked On College crossover between Hoosiers and Illini. I'm Jacob Goins, host of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Sunny Verma, host of Locked On Illini. We are your go-to spots for all things Indiana and Illinois athletics. And man, we have hyped it up all week long. We've waited all off-season long and even the first few weeks of the season as well. Sunny, Indiana and Illinois. It's the biggest game in college football coming up tomorrow night, and I cannot wait.
You're absolutely right. Not only is it the biggest game for our fan bases, the media is paying attention to it. You know, there's a lot of pushback that ESPN even got from game day, picking a 1 and 2 Florida team to showcase. And people are wondering, why aren't you in Bloomington? And, you know, even personally for me, I've been watching Illini football for over 20 years. I can't remember wanting to win a game as much as I want this Illini team to do on Saturday night.
It seems like that's where the fan bases are too, right? I mean, these are two schools that have had their beef on the hardwood, sure. But in football, I mean, this hasn't been all that crazy of a rivalry historically. But, Sonny, you couldn't tell the fans that. The Indiana fans, the Illinois fans, even some other Big Ten folks are really getting involved in this game.
So the thing is, Jacob, like following the Big Ten as long as I have, this is the Indiana basketball fans and the Illinois basketball fans having a chance to care about their football teams. You know, I mean this respectfully. The Indiana basketball side hasn't exactly been holding up their end of the bargain the last few years. So they've kind of laid a little dormant. And it's not like they had a good football team to really cheer for it and emotionally invest themselves in. Now they do. Now that Curt Cignetti is in town, the Indiana fan base has woken up from their long nap. And, you know, again, they're just going back and forth with this Illinois fan base who, for the last couple of years, you know, the job Bret Bielema has done has been amazing as well. So it's just two very high-powered, rabid fan bases being able to take out their anger on each other, which they've always done historically on the basketball side. It just hasn't really happened on the football side. I think I saw a stat that these two teams haven't met as top 25 teams since 1950. That tells you. I mean, Haley's Comet comes by more often than Indiana and Illinois meet as top 25 teams. But hopefully this is not going to be the last time in the near future. I really like the trajectory of both our programs right now. And I think the next time we meet could be a lot sooner than 75 years.
And what's fascinating about this matchup, and we're going to talk about the college football playoff implications and the different matchups. Yes, the quarterbacks, but beyond that as well. And of course, make our final predictions later on in the show. But people in Bloomington, and I think this is true, they're calling this the biggest home game in the history of Memorial Stadium, where Indiana will be playing host Illinois on Saturday night. They're calling this the biggest home game in Memorial Stadium history, Sonny. I mean, that doesn't come lightly. Indiana has had some big games at home. They've played big games on the football field, not consistently, but periodically throughout the time. I mean, there's a lot riding on this with all the things we're going to get to, but just from the media buildup and you and I talking all week, I mean, these fans are ready to go, but I think the teams are probably just ready to get this thing underway too.
No doubt about it. Bret Bielema said in his post-game press conference last weekend it was on Monday actually, that they had started scouting Indiana in springtime. And so the coaching staff, they're all ready for this game too. They want to get this done and over with. Obviously, they've invested a lot of their time when it comes to this Indiana football game, just like Curt Cignetti has. I'm shocked. I don't know about you, Jacob, but seeing Bret Bielema and Curt Cignetti being so respectful towards one another in those press conferences, when these two coaches usually don't mind throwing in a jab here and there. To me, I talked about it on today's episode of Locked On Illini, yesterday's episode, shows me how they understand the magnitude of this game. Neither coach is trying to give the other one any bulletin board type of material, any extra motivation to win this game.
I think part of it is a mutual respect, yes, but part of it might just be both of them are scared to death to play this game because of how good the opponent is. I mean, from my angle and just talking about the Illinois matchup, I mean, Illinois is a really good football team. Do I think Indiana's better? Yeah, I do. But Illinois is still a really, really good team. And look, if the roles were reversed, if Indiana was going to Illinois, I would be worried out of my mind. Being at home is such a difference maker. And look, I'm not trying to say that Indiana football home environments have been the best thing in college football. This isn't going to Penn State. This isn't going to Tuscaloosa. This isn't playing in Austin, playing against Texas or whatever. But being at home is a big deal. And Indiana's going to have a ton of fans there. And I'm just glad it's in Indiana versus Illinois. And I'm sure that adds a bunch of the stress for you and Brett Bielema and the entire team having to make the trip to Bloomington.
You're exactly right. I would feel a lot more confident in my prediction if this game was in Champaign, but if it's in Bloomington, it's one of those where obviously Indiana, the administration has made a big deal out of wearing red. It's going to be an absolute show, but the nice thing is I'm not the one playing, right? Brett Bielema had these guys ready for a very similar atmosphere last year at Nebraska. Nebraska was undefeated. Illinois was undefeated. It was a night game. I believe that read out as well. Over 100,000 people in that stadium. And ultimately, Luke Altmyer made the throws he needed to in that sort of environment to win that game. And so I'm hoping the atmosphere with the amount of people that were returning from last year's game, that it's not going to have a major effect. But again, ultimately, these are 18 to 22-year-olds. So you never know how they're ultimately going to respond.
Over 50,000 strong will be inside Memorial Stadium Saturday night watching two top 20 teams, Indiana and Illinois. But there's a lot more on the line than just a win in the score column. We talk about the college football playoff and two teams that are trying to get there and how this win could get them there. We talk about that next here on a Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Illini. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Mazda's, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep moving the game forward. And we've been talking a lot about what happened last weekend, but I want to talk about what can happen this weekend. Indiana's got to find a way to move the ball forward and move the game forward and have some of those key defining moments against Illinois at home this weekend. That's what Mazda's all about, is having maybe a little underdog mentality, coming from behind to get the big time win, or maybe just dominating from start to finish. Mazda's all about that, and Indiana has to be too if they want to take down Illinois this weekend. It comes from the offense. It comes from the defense. It's from the special teams. Curt Cignetti has to be able to move the moment forward, right? So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like that, there's more to every highlight. There's more to a Mazda than just a vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Wayfair. The weather's cooling down, the days are getting shorter, and that has me wanting to make my home feel a little bit more cozier for the fall and for the winter. When it comes to cozifying your space this fall, Wayfair is the place to go. Wayfair has everything you need to set the mood for the season, whether it's comfy recliners, warm bedding, autumn decor, or even an espresso machine that you can make your favorite latte at home. I've gotten dressers on Wayfair. I have a TV stand on Wayfair. While those may not be the coziest of things, I needed them, I wanted them, and I found them on Wayfair. But they've got all the fall type of stuff you could ever want. Man, you can scroll for hours on Wayfair, dude. They've got all sorts of stuff. You, the missus, anybody, your mom, your grandma, your granddad, anybody can just scroll and find exactly what you're looking for on Wayfair. Time to cozify your space with Wayfair's curated collection of easy, affordable fall updates. From comfy recliners to cozy bedding and autumn decor, you'll find it all for way less at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, we're back here on a Locked On crossover, Hoosiers and Illini. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Sunny Verma of Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for making both of our shows your go-to spot, your first listen or your first watch every single day. And look, Sunny, we've had a lot of fun this week getting hyped up for this game, talking about this game, a little smack talk in there as well. Just want to remind the fans before we talk college football playoffs. You and I have a little bit of a friendly wager we've got going on here between Indiana and Illinois. You proposed it. We kind of went back and forth and we settled on this. And I'm worried about it, but if it comes through, I'm going to be really, really excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you were a good sport about it. So essentially, a few days ago, I was proposed to me in the idea in my Discord, my Talk Illini Discord, like, hey, you and Jacob, people will see that you and I can be friendly, when it comes to every time we get on a show together. You and Jacob should have a bet for this game. So I was like, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. Let me see if Jacob is game for it. And you were. So the terms of this bet are if Illinois wins on Saturday night, you are going to have to wear a University of Illinois baseball cap throughout all your shows next week. And if Indiana wins on Saturday night, I'm the one that's going to have to wear that Hoosiers cap for a week's full of shows. So yeah, it's going to be fun. And I'm glad you remembered to bring this up because I don't think I brought it up on my channel yet. So if people, if things don't go our way on Saturday night and people tune in on Monday morning seeing me wear a crimson hat, they might be confused. Just understand I'm an honorable man. And if I lose a bet, I'll just honor my word.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And unfortunately, I had to, yes, go and purchase an Illinois hat. It's a nice looking Illinois hat. I just don't want to wear it. And I don't want to wear it for a week on Locked On Hoosiers. But it is going to be a lot of fun. Our buddy Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football is involved in this too. I don't think he claimed to wear a hat for a week, but he said he'd do it for a day, I think. And he is very vocal about Illinois winning this football game. And so he's involved in this as well. And the win is going to be awesome for either team. You can 20 win or a top 10 win, depending on which side comes away victorious. But Sunny, this is a launch pad, I think, for the rest of the season for both the Hoosiers and the Illini, because we're talking serious college football playoff implications here.
You're exactly right. I mean, just take a look at essentially what the next month worth of schedule for both of these teams. Illinois, after they're done with Indiana on Saturday, they're going to be playing USC the following week. And then we have Ohio State right after that. It just does not get much easier, it does not get easier for the Illini. And obviously Indiana's got road games against Iowa, Oregon, and Penn State lined up.
Yep.
It's both of these teams, I think, understand. And I think maybe that's why there's such heavy, importance put on this game. We understand that, hey, Indiana football is a really good football team, but I'd still rather play them than Ohio State later on. It's all about trying to get your wins where you can get them. And Illinois right now, they're locked into winning this game against Indiana, not because losing it is going to take them out of the college football playoff race, but they're going to certainly have to do their work and more to come back into the picture.
I mean, that's unfortunately where it stands, because thankfully for the Indiana perspective, our schedule is much tougher than it was a year ago, which was a lot of the gripe and the complaints.
Really?
Believe it or not, not the non-conference, just the Big Ten schedule.
Surely
just the Big Ten schedule. Yeah, right. And that was the gripe a year ago, was that Indiana's schedule wasn't the most difficult in the country, and so you couldn't afford slip-ups. Thankfully, Indiana wins double-digit games, and you get to the college football playoff, but now you play number 9 Illinois. You go on the road to Iowa, at top 10 Oregon, at top 10 Penn State. There's no hiding. Those are really tough games. And so, crazy enough, this could be the best opportunity for Indiana to get a significant win on the resume early, because not that I think Iowa's all that great, but you got to go to Iowa, which is always tough to do. And Oregon, Penn State, I'm sorry, we're just not there yet. We're not. I don't think Indiana's there. I don't think Illinois is there. I just don't think our programs are at that point. That's why this game tomorrow, Saturday night, Indiana versus Illinois, the Hoosiers have to get a win to keep their playoff hopes alive.
So let me ask you a question, Jacob, and I promise I mean this in the most harmless way. I argued on an episode that I believe this game is much more important for Curt Cignetti to win than Bret Bielema, just because of the historical context. Bret has done it before, but what we just talked about when it comes to schedule, at some point, Curt Cignetti is going to have to beat a ranked opponent. The Indiana fans are tired of defending this notion seemingly from anyone who goes at them. And it's going to be the pressure is going to be on. Look, Illinois is good, but they are not Oregon good. They are not Penn State good. And certainly the fact that you have this game at home shows that this game should be even easier. And I use, of course, air quotes to say that. If they lose Saturday night, then whether you like it or not, and I mean this respectfully to the Hoosier fans, you're
Sure.
going to hear more about this. You guys can't beat anybody good even more. It's going to be amplified a lot more. And so for me, it's like Curt's got to win this game, because if you don't, fine, beating Iowa is going to be impressive, but I don't think you're going to beat Penn State. I don't think you're going to beat Oregon. And so now you're talking about potentially going 0-3 in those type of games. And then, granted, even if you still win 9 games this year, and you talk about, Indiana football's back, Curt Cignetti's making us reach different levels, there's still going to be the but ... that's going to follow the program around. Do you agree with that?
I do. I absolutely do. And to that point, let's say that scenario plays out, right, where Indiana drops it to Illinois, Oregon, and Penn State, and your significant wins would be Iowa, Wisconsin, right? I mean, that's not good enough, Sonny. It's not. It's not good enough to at least get you to the college football playoff. If that's what folks are talking about from the Indiana side, that's not good enough. But I think a lot of the fan base would then take a step back, realize, hey, last year was awesome. Last year, not an anomaly, but it was awesome. And Indiana football is still building to be a consistent playoff contender. I think that's what the mindset, I hope, would be on a larger scale, but you're absolutely right. Indiana winning this game would go a long way for Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers' reputation for winning against top-tier talent. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's the Hoosiers and it's the Illini with all sorts of playoff implications, all the drama, all the hate, I guess, is what has been built up over this week. But who are the players that'll get it done? What are the matchups that will determine the outcome in Bloomington? We talk about that next here on this Locked On Crossover. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. There are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Places in Bloomington that we all just absolutely know and love. How about Bubba's Pizzas, right? Go check them out, or the Wilds, or maybe even Rusty Anchor, Fat Daddy's Barbecue, all these places that have been around for so long. Square Donuts, maybe after a long night before, go get you something over there as well. It's all the local places that just make a college town so much more special, and they all use Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnCollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy that you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time that you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. We've talked a lot about Fernando Mendoza this week, right? About his performance, and how about Omar Cooper busting out this year, having 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards, and maybe stat pad a little bit, but looking really good for the Indiana Hoosiers. And look, I think that was a good deal. I think that was a good thing, because now you remind defenses, hey, yoo-hoo, over here, I'm still here if you're Omar Cooper, and defenses have to respect you. So I think Omar Cooper absolutely delivered last week. And guess what? He's going to have to deliver again this week too. Him, Elijah Surratt, EJ Williams, even your tight ends as well. You want to beat Illinois, you're going to have to use those guys. So just like they delivered for Indiana, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday that you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. All right, final segment on a Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Illini. We're about to make our predictions for Indiana versus Illinois. But, Sonny, we've talked already this week about some of the quarterback battles, right? Of course, Altmyer versus Mendoza, one guy who's been in his school for a while. The other is a transfer portal quarterback. Why does Luke Altmyer make the difference here? And maybe another matchup that folks need to be aware of.
Quite honestly, it's just because I've seen Luke do this before, right? He's been in these tough environments and he's shown up in the fourth quarter. I don't think any quarterback had more fourth quarter victories than Luke Altmyer last season. Him and Brett Bielema, they've been together for 3 years now. It's rare in today's modern day college football that you have the same head coach, the same quarterback, and the same offensive coordinator for 3 seasons straight. And you're kind of talking about the exact opposite, situation that the Indiana Hoosiers are going through right now. So it's one of those where I'm very confident that Luke will play fine on Saturday. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think Mendoza will, but I just think there's certainly the bigger question mark on their side. Illinois' defense actually matches up pretty well with Mendoza. I want to bring up the stat from PFF College. So when Mendoza is not being blitzed, he's the second best quarterback in the country. When he's going up against zone coverage, he's the third best quarterback in the country with a 93.9 rating. When he is blitzed, all of a sudden he falls to the 46th best quarterback in the country. And when he's going up against man coverage, Jacob, his rating is 53, and that's 144th in the country. Well, guess what? Illinois, all they do is blitz, and all they do is play man coverage. So for me, ultimately, we know what my prediction is going to be. We know what your prediction is going to be down the road. But for me, this game is going to come down to the quarterbacks. I feel very confident Luke Altmyer is going to have a Luke Altmyer game. But I also, if I'm going to be honest, saying Indiana wins if Mendoza is as good as Indiana fans are saying that he is. Because quite honestly, I think you'll agree with me, those numbers aren't very good that I just told you. And they're not against good competition. Right. So he hasn't played a defense like Illinois. And again, I'm going to give Aaron Henry some credit here. Illinois historically for the last 2 seasons has actually done pretty well against really good quarterbacks. It was the Citrus Bowl. We played Lenore Sellers, and Illinois basically boxed him in, and he wasn't able to get his typical Sellers type of game. We just played Mensa just a couple weeks ago. And again, we forced Mensa into a couple turnovers. We struggled against Oregon a couple last year, but it's Oregon too. That's a completely different level. I'm very interested in seeing, and oddly, I feel calm that Brett Bielema and Aaron Henry have been planning for this game since spring. And so I understand that when it comes to ceiling, Mendoza's ceiling is higher than Luke Altmyer's. But I also think that Luke Altmyer's floor is substantially higher because I want to see what Mendoza does against a real Big Ten, not just a defense, a real good Big Ten defense who does well doing things that Mendoza doesn't do well.
And so, look, for Fernando Mendoza, I'm with you. I think he has to be able to prove it against good teams during his Indiana tenure. But I'll remind you that this was a guy that was winning games at California with a horrifically bad offense with really not a lot of talent around him other than Jaden Ott, who has gone to Oklahoma and done really nothing since he's been there. So this is a guy that won games at California, went on the road to an SEC team a year ago to Auburn and got a win there. I'm not worried about him going up against tough talent. He just has to do it consistently. And funny enough, Sonny, I think the 2 keys here on offense for Indiana: don't turn the football over, which the Hoosiers have been good about doing. And Fernando Mendoza has made the right decisions, as has Luke Altmyer. I've been noticing that 8-0 touchdown to interception ratio for him so far. So I think both teams cannot afford to turn the football over. Indiana's got to run the ball, though. Indiana has to run the football with a 2-headed monster that they have, and Kaelon Black and Roman Hemby. Unfortunately, that was a true 3-headed beast a week ago with Lee Beebe Jr., but he's out for the year with a non-contact knee injury. But I still think it's RB1 and RB2. I think Indiana runs the football, takes the pressure off of Fernando Mendoza, because look, if it's 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15 after a penalty, that's when Bielema and that defense are going to dial it up and talk about the pressure you mentioned a minute ago. They're going to get after Fernando Mendoza. So I think if the Hoosiers can run the football, get ahead of the chains, and allow Mendoza to pick apart that Illinois defense, I don't think they can run with Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper on the outside. And I think that's the plan offensively. For the defense for Indiana, you got dudes at all 3 levels. You got Hosea Wheeler and Michael Kamara on the defensive line. You got Aiden Fisher in the linebacker spot. You've got some dudes in the defensive backs room as well. This game could come down to the final drive, Sonny. I just think Indiana pulls it off. Yes, the homer picks Indiana. Guess what? Sonny's going to pick Illinois, so be ready for that. I think Indiana wins an absolute dogfight. I have 27-21 Hoosiers getting it done and having to get a late defensive stop to do it.
I somewhat agree with you in the sense where I do think that there's going to be a big defensive play made somewhere. I don't know which team makes it, but I made my prediction with on 3 that my final score prediction is 30-27 with Illinois making that defensive. And I actually have them doing a defensive touchdown. These guys have been close. We've got multiple NFLers in our defensive backfield, and I do think that maybe we've had Xavier Scott last year make the biggest plays in the biggest games, and maybe he's the guy to do it again on Saturday night against the Indiana Hoosiers. But again, it's 30-27 in my opinion, with Illinois making the defensive score. But I will tell you, Jacob, if in the third quarter, it's one of the Hoosiers making a big defensive play and turning the ball over and all of a sudden getting the ball back at the 5-yard line, and now Indiana can go up 2 scores, you're going to be thinking about this moment, because I'm going to be thinking, oh, shucks.
Well, man, it has been such a fun week, man. I appreciate all the work that you've put in for this and us going back and forth. Some good fun, right? But some competitive fun as well. And man, that Indiana hat's going to look so good on you on Monday. I cannot wait. I'm checking every day, too. I'm watching Locked On Illini every single day next week if Indiana wins, just to make sure. Not that I don't trust you. I just want to, for my own satisfaction, I just want to see that beautiful cream and crimson hat on your head on Locked On Illini, my friend.
I just want you to know that I wanted to make sure that the return window was still going to be open on Sunday after this game, because I feel that confident that I'm going to be getting my money back.
I love it. I love it, man. It's been so much fun. Again, a huge game tomorrow night, Indiana and Illinois. Both of us will have reaction shows going up. We'll be you're going live, right, Sonny? Going live on Locked On Illini? Or
yeah, I go live after every men's football game, men's basketball game, and this year I'll be doing it after women's basketball as well. So awesome. As soon as the final buzzer goes off, Locked On Illini will be on the air.
Yep, and we'll do the same thing on Locked On Hoosiers. So again, follow us wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to our respective YouTube channels as well. We're looking forward to a big game tomorrow night between the Hoosiers and the Illini. But until next time, Hoosiers and Illini fans, stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.